Eventually, we all come to the conclusion that living my life openly and without shame is one of the most revolutionary and subversive things that I could do. I recall one fall morning as I was walking back home after running some errands when I abruptly stopped before going in the house and realized that I missed the entire walk. The whole purpose of walking to do my errands was to be present and mindful in nature. But I completely missed all of it. I didn't enjoy the blue sky. I didn't get to enjoy the neighborhood cats playing tag in the tree line. I missed the sound of the wind blowing through the trees, like all of it. Though physically present, I was nowhere around to be found mentally. I was utterly engrossed in thoughts that were racing through my head. I was allowing myself to be drained by my consuming worries about my children and my work, the future, and everything else I felt that I should be doing different. I'm still alive, just not here actually living my life. I tried to take a deep breath, but my spiritual energy was just completely drained. And this is nothing new. In actuality, up until that point, I had largely viewed my life as being something that needed to be understood and confronted, then wrestled to the ground and overpowered. And this applied to my physical self, my work, and the people around me. The part of me that needs to control every aspect of my life started screaming, this is not an acceptable way to live. You can do better. You can solve the problem. There's always room for improvement. But this time, instead of focusing on the specifics of this conflict, I analyzed the process I was going through and fully understood that while the circumstances of the days change, the sensations of struggle always remain consistent. And until I gave up rejecting and condemning everything and started just simply receiving myself and my life, I knew that this will be a continuing struggle. There was no, but I still need to fix this, or I can accept whatever comes my way except for this. I was now aware that it was either all or nothing. In this moment, I realized I have two options. I could continue to fight reality, which now felt impossible and tiresome. Why? Because it was. Or I could embrace who I am and the circumstances that I'm in and just make the most of it. What if there's nothing to fight against at all? What if I let go of the struggle I referred to as my life? The options were right in front of me. The advice to lay down the arms comes to people when they've endured so much suffering that they are now completely worn out. This need not include tolerating bad relationships or circumstances. It simply means that we cease requiring constant change in order to accept ourselves and accepting our lives. We must learn to accept things just as they are, and even more difficult, to accept ourselves just as we are, making improvements where possible without thinking we have to overhaul life itself. I've noticed that whenever I talk to folks who are just struggling with everyday life, they always have this intuitive sense of, I should be doing better than this. Or perhaps I should be feeling this way instead of this way. It may seem evident that shoulds force us to constantly feel inadequate. But what I've discovered is that letting them go requires more effort than a sudden shift in perspective. It appears that our culture has made denying ourselves the norm, and it's actively promoting us to deny our emotions, hate our physical states, or not liking the career fields that we work in, giving us this false idea that we are somehow reducing our suffering. As a result, we become disconnected from the life that's already here and already in us. The largest illness of modern time is now self hatred. And there's a conflict between the real self and the imagined self when we're disassociated from who we truly are. This break in our life force, which manifests as physical restriction, shortness of breath, and an aggressively critical inner voice, starts a conflict within us. And the war is a factor in suffering, ailment, and probably 80% of all of our doctor's visits. This divide is promoted even in some of our top shelf self help publications. And we try our best to not entertain such ideas. Avoid feeling those bad emotions. Don't just stand about. Take action to better your life and yourself. Now, these claims may all sound like good counsel, but they still miss one of the most crucial steps when it comes to self help, which is closing the gap between who we are and who we believe that we should be in order to stop feeling so distant from our authentic selves. Disconnection is the feeling of guilt that tells you that you're doing it wrong and that it's not acceptable to feel or think the way that you are in this moment. It tells you that you have to criticize yourself in order to change, grow, and become a better human. It tells you that you are a problem that needs to be fixed. When self help is treated too much like boot camp, then you find yourself in a catch 22. Self help techniques can be beneficial, but if they don't contain a complete acceptance of who we are in the moment, then they risk developing a hostile connection between our authentic selves and our ideal selves. I, for one, am sick to death of the idea of being told that I'm not enough, which is the cause of so much anguish between both our physical state and our emotional state. What if we gave ourselves permission to be or act with the knowledge that we're fine and that given what we are right now, we're doing the best that we can? You probably have the little angel and demon on your shoulders telling you that if you sit on the couch right now, you're probably not going to get up again. Another possibility is that you'll never be successful or competent enough. The biggest deception of them all is that it's all a lie to maintain the consumption culture, aka capitalism. People who are in a state of scarcity and fear, they need to consume validation from outside sources in order to feel like they're being fulfilled. But because there's always something fresh to achieve or change, it never really arrives. Us as humans, it can be quite challenging to embrace not only who we are, but also the possibility that things might be okay in the state that we're in right now, even though it's painful. Right now, where you are is fine. I don't have to battle the pain that is currently present. The most significant relationship we will ever have is with ourselves. Because regardless of how we feel, we are actually valuable, important, we're sacred. Perhaps there's no need to ask yourself, what do I need to do to change? But rather ask yourself, how can I love myself just as I am? Perhaps loving oneself is as basic as breathing to calm our nervous systems and bring us back into the present moment. Maybe the key to healing is to embrace who we are rather than constantly trying to change ourselves. That's exactly what I did that day when I realized that I had missed the entire stroll because I had been so preoccupied with thoughts of everything I wished I could change. I turned my attention away from the ideas I was having and towards the sensations in my body. I came to the conclusion that I was sufficient for this stride and this breath alone. I guarantee that the results of entering a state of acceptance will feel so much better than the humiliation, alienation, and harshness that emerge from a continuous quest for perfection. The reality is, It's not necessary to fix you. You are a person who should be held, to be embraced into wholeness, loved and seen as enough.